ሀብታሞች ሊሆኑ ይችላሉ፣ ሀያላን መንግስታት ሊሆኑ ይችላሉ፣ ግን ሊደርሱለት አልቻሉም። ግን አንድ ነገር አለ፣ ረዳቴ ሰማይንና ምድርን ከሰራ ከእግዚአብሔር ዘንድ ነው አለ። እግዚአብሔር የኢትዮጵያም ረዳት ነው። ሁላችሁም እንደምታውቁት ብዙ ሙከራዎች ተደርገዋል። ከዚህ በፊት የነበረው መንግስት በኢትዮጵያ ላይ ዝቶ ነበረ። ዛሬ የለም። አሁን ያለውም እየሞከረ ነው። ካልተመለሰ እጣ ክፍሉ እንደዛው ይሆናል። ምክንያቱም የኢትዮጵያ ረዳት የሰራዊት ጌታ እግዚአብሔር ነውና። ልብ በሉ። ዛሬ ቆመን ያለነው በታሪክ መካከል እንደሆነ ልነግራችሁ ፈልጋለሁ። ምናልባትም ፕሪዲክሽን ሊሆን ይችላል። ኢሮፓ ፈረች ይባል ይሆናል። የኢትዮጵያ ከፋፋይ ድርጅቶች ብን ብለው ጠፉ ተብሎ ይሄ ቀን ይታሰባል። ምክንያቱም ዛሬ ኢትዮጵያውያን አንድ ሆነን ተነስተናልና። በመጽሐፍ ቅዱስ ታዲያ እንዲህ ነው የተባለው፣ ኢትዮጵያ እጆቿን ወደ እግዚአብሔር ትዘረጋለች። ልብ በሉ። ወደ መንግስታት አይደለም የተባለው፣ ወደ ሀያላን አይደለም የተባለው። የኢትዮጵያ ረዳት እግዚአብሔር እንደሆነ ስለገባት እግዚአብሔር ደግሞ እንኳንስ ከተፎከረ ከተከበበና ከተሰነዘረ የሚያድን አምላክ ስለሆነ እኛም በዘመናችን ልንተርከው በሚያቅተን መንገድ እንዴት አይነት ድንቅና ታምራት እያደረገ አገራችንን እስከ ዛሬ እንደጠበቃት ምስክሮች ነን። እንግዲያውስ ወገኖቼ ዛሬ አንድ ለአንድ ተያይዘን እጅ ለእጅ ተያይዘን ወደ መንግስታት ሳይሆን ወደ ሀያላን ሳይሆን ወደ አውሮፓም ሳይሆን ወደ ራሽያም ሳይሆን ወደ ሰራዊት ጌታ ወደ እግዚአብሔር እጃችንን እናንሳ። እግዚአብሔር እኔ አምናለሁ ድብቅ ጦር አስነስቶ ግብፅንና ሱዳንን ሊደበላልቅ ይችላል። በምድራችን ላይ ያሉትን ጠራርጎ ሊያስወግድ ይችላል። ሀያላን መንግስታት አፍረው እንደ ጣሊያን ይቅርታ የሚጠይቁበት ጊዜ ሩቅ አይሆንም። አሜን የሚል ሰው ከኔ ጋር ቀኝ እጁን ያንሳና እንጸልያለን። ሃሌሉያ። እግዚአብሔር አምላካችንና አባታችን እግዚአብሔር አብ፣ እግዚአብሔር ወልድ፣ እግዚአብሔር መንፈስ ቅዱስ ሆይ እንለምንሃለን። ይህችን አገር እኛ ከምንጠብቀውና ከምናውቀው በላይ የሚስጥር የቃል ኪዳን አገር ናትና በጌታ በኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ስም ከክፉ ነገር እንድትጠብቃት እንለምንሃለን። ጉም እንደሚበንን የከበቧትን ጠላቶች ሁሉ እንድታበንላት እንለምንሃለን። እኛ እጅ ለእጅ ተያይዘን ኃይል ያለህን አንተን ፈጣሪያችንን እንጠብቅሃለንና እንለምንሃለንና ግድቧ እንዲገደብ፣ ሰላሟ እንዲጠበቅ፣ ከሰሜን እስከ ደቡብ ከምስራቅ እስከ ምዕራብ ኢትዮጵያን እንድትባርክ፣ ልጆቿን በዲያስፖራ እንድትባርክ በጌታችን በመድኃኒታችን በኢየሱስ ስም እንለምንሃለን። እኛንም እጅ ለእጅ አያይዘህን ባንድ ዘረኝነትን አስወግደን፣ መለያየትን አስወግደን፣ ወገንተኝነትን አስወግደን እንደ አንድ ሕዝብ እንድንቆም እንድትረዳን በጌታችን በመድኃኒታችን በኢየሱስ ስም እንለምንሃለን። በእግዚአብሔር አብ በወልድ በመንፈስ ቅዱስ አንድ አምላክ ስም አሜን።
No! Did you expect Ethiopia to be abandoned by our congresswoman in her time of need?
No!
Did you expect that?
No!
What are we going to do about it? We're going to do something about it.
We're going to vote!
We're going to vote! So, Karen Bass, Congresswoman Karen Bass, the Ethiopian community in Los Angeles and in your district, I live in your district, we are very disappointed. We are very disappointed. The Ethiopian American community throughout California and the US, we are all disappointed. We are all disappointed because you are the chair of the subcommittee on Africa. So it is all our business what you do. Those of us that voted for you to represent us and our interests, paying for you through our donations and tax dollars, do not deserve this. You have chosen to follow the narrative of the junta destabilizers, TPLF, and are leading the American people into a very dangerous position on Ethiopia, based on misinformation, lies, and fabrication of the former terrorist dictatorship of TPLF and their consorts. Congresswoman Bass, we have worked with you for many years. We have voted for you. Again, we have raised funds for you because you had an open ear for our community. And we felt you were one of us. We gave input to you, not only on Ethiopia or Ethiopian Americans in the diaspora, but also as fellow American citizens of Los Angeles on domestic and local matters. We have always looked to you as one of us, as someone in our corner, and you have always stood up with us and shown us that what we say matters to you. So, it is with shock that we see how you have become an instrument of the false stories and narratives and blatant lies of the defunct Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, which was ousted out of power 2018 by sustained popular protest. Then, from its ethnic stronghold and base in Tigray, after repressing the voice of the people of Tigray, TPLF proceeded to create numerous hurdles to sabotage the reform process in Ethiopia through a combination of schemes such as wedging ethnic animosity through media outlets and by aiding and arming extremists like ONF Shani, who continue to this day to commit violence and crimes against humanity by launching ethnic cleansing throughout the country as late as last week in Wallagga. Many ethnic groups like the Anwak, the Somali, Gonso, Gedio, Oromo, Orthodox Christians, Walaita, have been victimized. In particular, the Amara, who are the largest population in Ethiopia, have been the target and received the brunt of ethnic cleansing actions, which now culminated in Maikadra, which we now call the killing fields of Ethiopia, where over 1,200 citizens have been massacred by the TPLF youth group, Samri, which you chose to interview for their oppression. The TPLF youth group, Samri, on their way out of Tigray after they were defeated by the Ethiopian army. By the way, Madam Congresswoman, let me educate you. Let me educate you. There is no such thing as Western Tigray. There is no such thing as Western Tigray. That is what we know and call Walkait, home to Amara people over millennia. Let me educate you, Madam Congresswoman. Aksum is holy to all Ethiopians. Aksum is holy to all Ethiopians. We do not bomb Aksum. We do not massacre anyway, but Aksum is holy to us. So it is with disdain and even anger that we, the Ethiopian community, reject what is in your resolution that almost puts these TPLF, by the way, right now non-existing criminals and insurrectionists on the same level as the government, to negotiate with the government of Ethiopia under the auspices of international intervention. TPLF does not represent the people of Tigray. While we appreciate the concern of the United States government on the challenges facing Ethiopia, we Ethiopians are sorry. Good job. Oh God, beloved. We Ethiopians are always apprehensive when outsiders interfere in our internal affairs. As the speaker before me said about Adwa, that is what caused the problem. This intervention is an insult to freedom-loving Ethiopians who have never been under the yoke of any country, and we will not be under the yoke of any country, ever. It is also very condescending, this attitude, as this would not be an acceptable solution for any sovereign country, including the United States. So please, kindly do not interfere. Madam Congresswoman, Ethiopia does not negotiate with terrorists and criminals. We do not negotiate with TPLF or what is left of them. The resolution you drafted came straight out of the mouths and pens of the TPLF and is an insult to us. And we find it condescending, simplistic, and very much dripping with the arrogance and supremacy and the myopic view of Africans through the eyes of the West. That, Madam Congressman, is unacceptable to us. Unacceptable. Ethiopia is an anchor state for peace and stability in the Horn of Africa. If the effort of the Ethiopian government to stabilize the region fails, U.S. geopolitical interest and influence will also be jeopardized, as the entire region will be embroiled in an inter-ethnic civil war and would be a breeding ground to illicit activities, including terrorist acts. The international community should respect Ethiopia's right to preserve the unity and sovereignty and integrity of the state, and in its ambition to lift out millions of its citizens out of poverty through its flagship development project, the Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Despite the colonial era agreement between Egypt and Sudan that had deprived Ethiopia its natural rights, the Ethiopian government has taken extraordinary steps to meet a long list of demands from Egypt and Sudan. The United States' decision to withhold direct aid as a tool to pressure the Ethiopian government to agree to a deal should be re-evaluated. The African Union and the Intergovernmental Agency for Development, IGAD, expressed their appreciation of the seriousness of the situation and noted the federal government's duty, that is Ethiopia, to defend the territorial integrity of the state. Finally, while we believe that criminal activities should be investigated and prosecuted, the suggestion that the United Nations get involved and investigate alleged atrocities in Ethiopia is unacceptable. Unacceptable! They can do that when the United States intervenes in America to see how the police are brutally killing black men. That same day, they can come to Ethiopia too. African problems, African solutions. African problems, African solutions. Ethiopia is a sovereign state. Eritrea is a sovereign state. Ethiopia is a sovereign state. So before I go, I'm done. I just want to say one more thing. What they have the money and they have evil. They are really evil because they are telling lies. That's what they have. We have the truth. And we have the numbers. We have the numbers. We can vote. Please vote. It's so important to vote. Midterms are coming. Tell your congressperson how and why you're voting. It is so important. And one last thing. call Karen Bass. It doesn't matter where you're from. Please, those numbers, every morning, get up, say your prayers, have your breakfast, pick up the phone, and call Congress. Every day. If we call, we will win. We have the numbers. We have power. We are American citizens. We can vote. And we have to say that. Karen Bass, do you hear us, or whoever's in your office? We will vote. 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 Thank you.
Because this is a very important day. The destiny of Ethiopia is in question. We have to address, we have to come together to make a difference. Today, we are gathered together in this extraordinary time to exercise our free speech rights and the rights to assemble as clearly inscribed in the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Ethiopian and Eritrean brothers and sisters, and invited guests, let the day be remembered as a beacon of hope, the search for the truth, and the acceptance of responsibility by the politicians, media outlets, and humanitarian organizations. Indeed. This is a time to change words into action. Yep. On November 4, 2020, Special Forces and militia organized by the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, TPLF, launched a premeditated and unprovoked attack on the garrison of the North Command of the Ethiopian National Defense Force in Tigray region. The fact remains, after the treasonous act by TPLF against the Northern Command of the ENDF, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia government took a law enforcement operation to bring the perpetrators of this heinous crime to justice and enforce law and order in the region. Within less than 3 weeks' time, ENDF swiftly completed the implementation of the law enforcement order. Then the federal government has taken steps to facilitate humanitarian assistance through full and unhindered humanitarian access while ensuring the safety and security of humanitarian personnel involved. This effort is still underway and more progress is expected in the near future. Over 700 innocent civilians were massacred by TPLF militias and cadres in the small town of Maikandra, near the border of Sudan. Alone, as reported by Amnesty International, the murderers, after committing this heinous crime, not only managed to escape to the neighboring country of source of all the misinformation campaign to methodically fan and feed the Western media and sympathetic governments. While the government of Ethiopia is fully focused and engaged its full effort in establishing peace and rebuilding the region, some international media continue to provide inconsistent and incomplete information, as you have heard. Therefore, we are here today to voice to the world the factual and complete information about the law enforcement operation and the situation in the Tigray region of Ethiopia. Let me give you the brief background. I hope Congresswoman Karen Bass is listening to me or her staffs. Number one, the TPLF for Ethiopia, with an iron fist for over a quarter of a century under the banner of ethnic coalition. It invented and nurtured inter-ethnic animosity for its strategy of divide and rule. It carried out gross human rights violations including mass killings, arbitrary arrests, and torture to intimidate political opponents and the general public. TPLF atrocities and its brutal reign have been widely condemned and reported. And number two, years of sustained and deadly popular protest around the country forced the TPLF lose control of state power after its 27 years of brutal reign. This momentous change ushered in a ray of hope with the new government leaders promising transition to a democratic rule. And number three, in the face of all these provocations, the Ethiopian government remained committed to peaceful resolution of differences and tried to bring TPLF leaders to the table through several rounds of reconciliation attempts by a group of religious leaders and elders. The TPLF rebuffed all these efforts. Number four, on November 4, 2020, after preparing for several months, the special forces and militia organized by TPLF launched a premeditated, unprovoked attack on garrisons of the Northern Command of the Ethiopian National Defense Force in Tigray region. The deliberate and heinous attack on the Northern Command of the ENDF is a crime of high treason under the Constitution and the law of the land. With a mandate from the House of People's Representatives to intervene, the provisional administration of Tigray was put in place, while the National Defense Force were given the instruction to protect and defend the constitutional order. Number five, while the ENDF was enforcing law and order following the attack on the Northern Command, TPLF forces massacred over hundreds of civilians in Maikandra town by selecting non-Tigrayan on November 9, 2020. Investigators by Amnesty International and the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission independently confirmed the carnage in their statement issued on November 12 and in November 24, 2020. Respectively, the victims were apparently targeted for their Amhara ethnicity and were in no way involved in the ongoing military offense. TPLF also launched several rocket attacks to civilian centers in Bahar Dar and Gondar in Ethiopia, in Asmara, capital of Eritrea, intended to inflict damage to civilian and infrastructure. Number six, thanks to the sacrifice and heroic action taken by Ethiopian Independence Force, TPLF is now history. Its leaders are arrested, fled, or died during the law enforcement operation. The much feared prolonged conflict, bloodbath, humanitarian crisis, and reorganization and internationalization of the conflict have not materialized, thanks in most part of the heroic effort and action taken by the federal government of Ethiopia and the Ethiopian National Defense Force. TPLF operators, some of whom are prominently planted in international organizations, humanitarian institutions, and major news outlets, are using traditional and social media forums in coordinated fashion to disseminate their disinformation and lies. Tragically, these operatives have so far been successful in befuddling the international community as well as sympathetic governments and institutions, as they had effectively done so far over the 3 decades of the tyrannical rule. Equally troubling is the lack of balance in the coverage of the crisis in Tigray, whose root cause was the brazen and unprovoked attack by the TPLF on the Ethiopian National Defense Force. It is extremely disheartening and alarming to behold how major newspapers, media outlets like the likes of CNN,
Fake news,
humanitarian organization, and even the United States Department conveniently and conspicuously omit crucial facts in their analysis of the current situation in the region. Finally, I want to send this message about the great Ethiopian Renaissance dam, GERD, the lifesaver for the 150 million people of Ethiopia. We fully support our government in the approach for a reasonable and equitable sharing of this God's gift to the downstream countries of Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia. As a technical professional engaged on the GERD, I see no technical problem that will impede from a reasonable and equitable utilization of the Nile. The hydrological prediction for the coming rainy season gives me confidence for Ethiopia to forego and fill the dam with 13.8 billion metric cube to be in position to activate the whole 13 turbines to produce power for the first time. The energy that would be produced from this source will light Ethiopia, changing the lives of millions of our people back home in Ethiopia. Lastly, my fellow Ethiopians, Ethiopia's destiny is tied to the completion of the GERD, and the Ethiopian diasporas in the United States are behind the success of this momentous effort, making a difference to the remaining 65 million.
Oh, Ay,